Hey everyone, and welcome to the Cocoa Nomad channel once again, where I share tips, tricks, techniques of remote work and travel. And today is yet another weekly retrospective where I share what I'm working on and encourage you to follow along in the format so that you can also get things done. So let's go ahead and get started. So this past week, what went well? Well, the first thing was the annual Worldwide Developers Conference from Apple. Went really well. They announced a lot of new features, a lot of new capabilities for the phone, the watch, the iPad, and the Mac. And they're really moving towards making this experience really seamless so that no matter which device you're on, you're able to be productive and you can share and you can and do different things. So I won't go into the details, but it's really, really exciting in terms of what we'll be able to do. It's usually a mad scramble, but it seems like this year, since there were no hardware announcements, it's basically some things behind the scenes that we as developers will be able to do. And I'm really excited about it. Quite a few of them don't require the latest OS, so we don't have to wait a year or two before the bulk of our users or customers are updated to the latest OS to be able to take advantage of it. So that was really, really exciting. The next thing that I'm really excited about was I finally got a chance to hike a Volcán here in Guatemala. So I went on Saturday afternoon. It was a short bus ride there. It was a longer bus ride back, and there's a story behind that. It was just an accident on the road. It took forever, but it was amazing. Like it was really great. It was. I thought that maybe the hike would be a bit troublesome, and it was overcast, and it rained as we were entering the park. But the good thing was that as we were walking, it actually cleared up a good bit, and we were able to do most of the hike without rain. We got a bit of rain when we got to where a lot of the volcanic ash was and the rocks, roasted some marshmallows, but it was an amazing view. It was a great day, made some new friends, as always, when you're traveling, well, if you're open to it. And it was well worth it, well worth it. I still managed to get home maybe an hour later than normal, or an hour later than planned. But that was a minor sort of hiccup in an amazing afternoon. So I highly recommend it. I may make another video and share so that you can see, but I'll drop some videos. Of course, you'll see some of this here of what a great day it was. The next thing that went really well was our client planning meeting and pairing session this past week. It was really good. We kind of got to the root of some of the things that we really needed to do to sort of get the project out and done. We have a clear target of when we want to launch, which is always good. I'm always happy when the client is happy and they feel really, really good about the deliverables and where things are going. So we see a really clear picture there, and excited to kind of make this push over the summer to get it done. And then finally, I had some really great discovery calls and strategy calls this past week. I reached out, invited some people. You may have heard me talk about my offer now to engage in discovery calls and strategy calls for people who are looking to either start traveling and working abroad in terms of being a remote worker, or if you're remote working from your home country, you don't have any plans to leave, but you do want to work through some of your productivity issues and how you do the work. So I had a discovery call with someone and it went really, really well, and a strategy call to help someone get through some challenges as well this week. I was really excited about it. Not only did I get them on the right track, but I got some great ideas in terms of some other things that I can offer to help people in terms of either a simple digital product or a productized service. So something that may not need coaching, as it were, but maybe just a simple thing that I can do. We can get together in a day and I can provide you some real value, and then you can sort of take off on your own and handle the rest. So more of that to come in future videos, but it's great. Then finally, I'm actually in a new location. I'm in a co-working space. I'm changing from the Impact Hub co-working space that I've been working in for the past month. And there's a newer co-working space called El Cubo that is located outside of the city of Antigua. It's in another town, in Old Town, and it just giving a test run. I came and did a tour on Friday here and decided to take advantage of the free day pass that they gave to see if it's going to work for me as a membership. And I would use it for the remaining month that I'm here, possibly extending. That's something that I'm not sure about. I may stay for another month if things work well, depending on how productive I am here. If not, then I'm going to go and continue on with some of the other plans that I have. What didn't go well is the next section, and it's really still one thing, and it's still no web page. It's just hadn't sat down and made the time to just, and I know what it is. It's a block, and I have a technique that I'll be invoking this week. It's also one of the reasons why I'm here in this workspace too. I'm testing to see if this is a more productive space for getting that type of work done, especially the kinds of things that like I'm not super keen on doing, but I know they need to be done. So I just need to go ahead and get them out of the way. I will say the internet here seems to be working incredibly well. And so I'm very happy about that. They really promote the fact that they have dedicated high speed internet. And hopefully that'll help me because I know I need to sort of do some passes and some uploads of the website files to get that done. But some of it is really silly, actually. It's just picking a theme and then going forward. So I think I'm just going to grab one and go. It sounds silly sometimes. It's just like the little impediments that keep projects from moving forward. And they're not always like these big, monumental, difficult things. Sometimes they're just simple things that you just need to sort of sit down, make a decision, and not be afraid of making a wrong choice. And that leads us into what I've learned. It's like two things. Basically, again, not letting simple choices get in the way and being afraid to make mistakes. It's like, oh, if the theme isn't great, I can always change it. Yeah, it's a bit of work to go back in and change everything and test everything. And that's going to take a little bit of time. But the freedom to make those choices and make changes if you make a quote unquote mistake, which it really isn't, it's just a choice, is not a bad thing. So, and just leaning into that. And then the second thing is not letting the tech get in the way. So, what I learned this past week is just the simple outreach led to those calls. I already have my calendar up, Calendly, and it has the schedule of the availability of the calls. I just needed to, I felt like, oh, I need this page, but not necessarily. I just simply reached out to people in different groups and shared some information and made an open invitation to people to who either need help and know what they need or just want to have a talk and discover if we can work together. And so the web page is not the thing, and so sometimes we can build that in our minds, and that's not necessarily true as well. So that was a great lesson. And then the other thing is what still puzzles and scares me, and that one's a little different. I don't really have anything this week that's really puzzled or scared of. It's just sort of working through these processes. In fact, one of the previous things that was puzzling me in terms of how I could duplicate my burner list, my daily burner list that I'm using that method with Notion instead of using it on paper or trying to use it with another tool. I've got a lot of clarity there. And so as I'm moving forward with that, I'll definitely be sharing that on the channel for those who might either want to try Notion or if you're already using Notion, this would be another set of templates that you could use that I'll make available that can help you here today. And then the final section is what will I do differently? Well, this week, one thing that I'm doing differently is considering going back to my old employer. Now, for years, I have been just solely freelance and contract work and then working on these other side ventures. uh, but in the past week, a recruiter reached out and asked if I would be interested in coming back and working with an old colleague of mine that we worked on the same team. And actually, I'm interested. It's still the best job I ever had. I really enjoyed working there, and I'm really curious about what they have going on. So we're gonna do some talking this week and see if that can work. Basically, if they're open to me coming back and what the projects and what they need, and that would be great. It definitely would change sort of like how I split my time in terms of like client work and coaching and things like that. I mean, the coaching isn't really that much of an impediment because there's simple calls and check-ins and things like that. So it's just additional meetings. But I'm pretty curious. I'm really curious. I worked on some things on that in the for the old company on the app I'm still pretty proud of, and I'd like to see how like my babies are doing, and maybe go back and do some new stuff. So there is an opportunity potentially there, and then finally just drawing a line in the sand and getting those pages done because it's just a matter of just selecting a theme, getting it updated, and just putting the information out there. It's not technically arduous; it's just making those little choices. So that's this week's retrospective. What I have done in the comments, drop what you're working on. Do you have a big thing that you'd like to get done this week, or even a small thing that you'd like to get done this week? I think it's important to try to get those wins and move the week along. I'm really a big proponent of winning the week, and each day you have an opportunity to get to move one step closer to doing it. It won't always be perfect. Every day won't be great. But overall, if you look over the course of the week, you can still look back and say, hey, I had an amazing week. I got a lot done. Things went well. As you notice from mine, I had 4 things that went well and only 1 thing that didn't. So for me, that's overwhelmingly positive. And that's the kind of attitude I think you should have and move forward with. Don't let the one thing that didn't go well drag you down. So, in saying that, please click like, subscribe, share. If you think this is something that's useful for other people, or you got any benefit out of it, just let me know in the comments as well. I'd love to hear it. Love to hear positive feedback, and anything else that you'd like me to talk about. I'll absolutely do a separate video on that, and even comment on the sound. Does this sound better? I think the sound is better. I'm in an actual call booth here. It's a bit different than what I normally do, either at home or at the workspace, the previous workspace. So I'm hoping this works out a lot better for everyone. In addition to that, just have an amazing week, and I will talk to you next time. Cheers.